Hello, 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 and welcome in to Bear With Us by Bear Claw Media. I am Chris Bolin, joined by Ben Schleiger, and we are brought to you by Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, offering specialty all-beef hot dogs, savory barbecue and sides, plus a self-pour beer wall. Perfect setting for family outings or a night with friends. Stop by and hashtag Beat the Craving today. Ben, we stopped in Crave yesterday after not quite the UNC result we were hoping for, but not an absolute trouncing, which we have been prone to give up in the last couple years. So sitting at 2-3 now, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, 2-3. It's an all right 2-3. Like we could be better than that. Could be worse than that. Last week was on playing with the brink of edge of destiny, and man, we came out just on the right side of it. But yeah, it's been a weird season. I guess it's good that we've been in it, down right to about 1 to 2 possessions, deciding the fate of the game. So that's been pretty exciting, but also pretty exhausting. So like tired, but also like, hey, we're doing better. We're developing. It's almost there. It's like we could almost be like, hey, we're like 4-1 almost, but we're still playing almost in a game of football, so we're still playing the wrong sport. We're still playing horseshoes when we need to be playing football, but it's getting a lot better. I think we're on the right track. I think everybody's decided that. Like you guys were saying on the radio, this could have been a 30-point loss, the year before and whatnot. So now we have the homecoming advantage of, there's a lot of festivities in the home ground and all that, but overall, like 8-point loss, not bad.
Yeah, truly. 26-18. Like you mentioned, I don't think we can undersell homecoming because it was popping out there. The tailgate was pretty big. I don't know if they ever did like the guest attendance, or if they ever announced like the actual attendance, but I would say it was over $5,000. Probably the biggest crowd they've had in the past 3 years. I would say maybe like a Montana crowd randomly, but a lot of excitement around the program, and unfortunately, kind of came out and laid an egg in that first quarter. Give up. If I recall correctly, it's Idaho State gets the ball, moves it pretty well. UNC bends but doesn't break, kind of story of the game in the season. Force an Idaho State field goal. UNC gets it back, goes for it on 4th and 1 at their own 35. They do like that Keone formation where they bring him in, and they did a little. We were talking about it at Crave. I don't understand the interior pitches on those plays because, like, I do like to believe at least if they pitch it outside, maybe one of the backs can get around the corner, and maybe if Keone keeps it, they could just like push him through the line enough. But that weird interior pitch, I love Johnson, but he never had a chance on that.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's basically like doing a running play on 4th and 1 out of shotgun because you're doing a double delay. So it's partially a draw, partially a pitch. And what good does it do when you get hit exactly where you gave the ball?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of a microcosm of the entire game. Maybe I'm more critical of the offensive line in this one than you were. They very banged up. So I don't want to. It's not like the 5 starters that we had high hopes for early in this year. Just haven't played well. Jack Bacon's out. Lincoln Fa'apuli went down in this game. Zeeble was out. So we're on, in a couple cases, probably 8th or 9th lineman here. So there were a couple times where the UNC ball carrier was met in the backfield by 3 guys before he even had a chance to take a step, make a move, do anything. But I think that really showed in the UNC run game. If I can frantically pull it up, what did they have? 30 yards.
It was
30
pretty bad.
yards.
Yeah.
It was miserable after running for like
Well, and they
200
went just
plus
above,
against Houston
we went
Christian
about
and
like 40, but
holding them to 40. Yeah. So
yeah. Plus and minus, it came out to 30, but I do think you're right. I think um, even though I was more optimistic about the offensive line, the best way to put it is they got bullied more times than they succeeded. So I think there was shining moments, not necessarily in the run game, obviously, but yeah, I think on both sides of the lines we could agree there was more times where our guys got bullied rather than they succeeded.
Yeah, and that's a good both sides of the line too, because Idaho State ran for just under 300 yards, which not what they were kind of taunted as coming in, not what you expect out of an Idaho State team, but it kind of looked a lot like that South Dakota game where I think they realized that they could pick up about 6 yards per carry on the ground, and they just kept going back to that well. But so UNC down 10-0 at the end of the first half or first quarter, I believe. Um, and then I think UNC just very, very uninspired. And Idaho State kicks 2 more field goals, like long drives that could have been touchdowns. And I think that's what we were kind of talking about. And this could have been much worse. And in years past, this could have been a game where this team just rolled over. But they didn't. They kept coming around and score a touchdown just actually it's with like a minute left in that first half, or just before 2-minute warning. I can't remember if there was an extra possession, but Gibson threw the ball well all day, just under 400 yards in a game where it didn't feel like he was his most comfortable. So it's kind of crazy to have some of those numbers after what we've seen the past 2 years. And that was the ninth highest passing output in school history. Brooke Richards, shout out SID, is telling us after the game. So across the middle to big Charlie Garrison, just bounces off a tackle. I think it was actually a free play. There was an offside, so it was a little stress-free. Bounces off a tackle, scores 16-7. UNC seems to have all the momentum right before halftime. And then they kick it off, get it back with about 2 minutes left, give or take. And for me, Ben, right there, it felt like all the momentum was on UNC's side. And I think they actually had like 2 big plays to start that drive. Then on 2nd and 1, Gibson gets sacked for like a loss of 13. And it basically just completely stalled everything. And what were you feeling kind of in that moment, Ben? That still felt like a lot of optimism, but then there was like a bit of an eerie feeling giving Idaho State the ball back, even with just like 40 seconds left.
Yeah, talking about that punt, it just that it didn't feel right when we were on that 4th and 7 for sure. Because like leading up to it, it's like yeah, like halftime really took the wind out of the sails that we let that touchdown get in just before with a minute left. So that really sucked the air out of the crowd.
On
So
two
didn't love
plays, basically. Like one was just a jump ball down the sideline to the receiver, whose name is Polish, but I can't think of it, and I'm not in the individual stats. And his name
Sulikov.
is Sulikov. Yes, I don't know if that's Polish, but it sounds Western Bloc or Eastern Bloc European. But and then another one, it may have been Sulikov again in like the back of the end zone to score that. And Jordan
It was
Cook was like good for 4 missed throws and then dart. Like he would just make 4 terrible throws and then just put one right on the money, which kind of happened in that just before half drive.
Yeah, he played true to his form. His form is kind of exactly that. Is there's a lot of passes that don't even hit the barn, and then there's one that goes straight through a keyhole. So he's gotten better at that this season. His darts were even crisper, a few less incompletions. So it's like he did kind of tighten up his game a little bit, which was frustrating because I felt like there could have been an errant pass here or there that we could have tried to pick off. We never really had a close moment for that. So kind of going through, like it felt better as we were like climbing back. I think there was a missed field goal that went over the upright. Even Jungle Land, it was a good field goal and then had to go back and correct it. So interesting there that I guess the curse of Nottingham is our field goal post for sure. We don't have the long grass to piss on anymore, so it's going to be the stubby little field goal posts that are our curse, our hex, whatever you want to put it as. But yeah, that would have been nice to have. That would have made it a different game scenario. Ultimately, I feel like the game really came down to, and we disagree on this, is that 4th and 7 with 2:52 left in the game.
Ooh.
UNC's on their own 33. It's a bad position, but you've only scored 18 points the whole game. It's not like your offense is rip roaring. It's not like they're fast moving. There is no go to this offense. It is either chunk or not moving. So we needed to do chunk and just put the game on the line there. For whatever reason, coach wasn't comfortable doing that. And then Idaho State, they go down and do all of their hunky dory bullshit at the goal line and basically float around and don't waste enough time. So David Harson, just run backwards. Like literally, somebody ran for a safety yesterday. Just
That guy threw the ball as high as he could too, and it was like you could see him like rear back and just rip that one, and it got like 25 yards in the air. It was great. He was on the run. It was a tough spot, but it was just a weird look. I get why they did what they did, but just a weird execution on that play.
it didn't help that Gibson threw it at the feet of the receiver that was only about 20 yards away on our 93-yard that we had to make up. So
That one had
that
to be
wasn't
a miscommunication. Like I think he was like ready for Wooten to stop and then like start some sort of hook and ladder, and he just never turned around. Because that one was just a bummer of we didn't even like start a play. We didn't even get a chance to like do one lateral to see if maybe we had something.
honestly, I would have rather just see Gibson throw it for 50 yards to Cheeks, have it be complete, and be like, oh, well, Cheeks got tangled up and couldn't get down there. Oh, well. Like, I'd rather that than this, like, praying that everybody does backyard, schoolyard, recess football better than the other guys. You haven't played better than their guys playing standard football. Why do you think you're going to play backyard football better than them? Sorry.
That's touche. But going back to
I feel like at least time wise, we didn't like we were disingenuous to the defense by making them have to try to put a stop again, which technically they did. Technically, they had a 4th-and-goal stop, even though Harson did his weird circus bullshit antics. But like outside of that, like it wasn't fair to put that on the defense. I feel like that was uh, a wrong choice, a disgusting choice, because the defense didn't deserve that. They were trying their best. Obviously, 26 isn't good enough to win, but
I think it is.
I feel like
I
there
think
was a
the
lot of
defense played good
moments
enough
that
to win
were,
this game.
well,
Like
we need
by
that offense to get above the team. Just
letter
like
of the
Coach said,
law,
we need to get above the
26 was not enough to win, but the way the defense played was well enough to win, and the fact that the offense put up like about 500 yards and could only score 18 points, like 26 should have been enough. But I get what you're saying. Like the defense, it was all on them.
Yeah, yardage wise, we're good. It's just we don't make those meaningful yards. We don't put ourselves in
We don't get the
meaningful
last
positions.
20.
Right. And the hard part was we did have some misses in the field goal department. Not going to put that all on Willig because I feel like the excuse me excuse me the 4th down that we went for early on, I felt like that was
Weird.
horrible play design. Trying to take
No, yeah. So I was just
trying to
weird
take advantage of the
call too.
substitution error that coach talked about. Like I don't. Even if it was a substitution error, it was a terrible play, so that wasn't going to go well.
If your
So I feel like that
3
10 down
interior
early,
linemen get knocked on their ass, and
yeah,
there's
the
3 tackles
the
in the
10 down
backfield.
early just wasn't fair to the defense because it was like we were playing a handicap game of like, oh, you were bad last week, so here's 10 points, kind of like almost like a Hogwarts penalty. So I felt like that was tough, but the defense did hold 3 field goals, hold drives to 3 field goals in the first half. Otherwise, it could have been 28 to whatever the hell we put on the board.
Their kicker was nails too. Didn't miss a single kick last year. Hasn't missed one this year. Doesn't have like the biggest leg. I don't think he would make a 55-yarder, but like 53 and in, I like don't see him missing almost. But so I think he ended up with 5 field goals. They scored one actual touchdown and 5 field goals. No, 2 touchdowns and 5 field goals. But let's go back to that punt, Ben, because I I get where you're coming from. UNC 3 minutes 36 seconds left. Or what is it? I guess they punt the ball away with 2 minutes and 52 seconds left. All 3 timeouts. Just forced a 3 and out the last time Idaho State had the ball. So 3rd and 7 from like their own 35 or so. So very bad field position. In theory, 3 timeouts and the 2-minute timeout. And why I think it was a decent decision was because at South Dakota, UNC punted back the ball down a touchdown with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. And the defense did exactly what it needed to do and got him the ball back. And the offense drove down and scored to send that one to overtime. So I think the proof's kind of in the pudding is like this could have worked. And if it was like a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 2, then I would definitely be a little more inclined to side with you there. But I think at 4th and 7, I said it on the radio, and I don't like it. It doesn't feel good, but I think the punt was ultimately the right call there. And the defense just didn't have it in them. And again, it wasn't their fault that UNC lost. The defense just didn't have one more stop in them. And that Davis Harsin draw keeper that he scampered 40 yards just kind of was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and I disagree. I feel like if we knew the defense was going to be put in a position where they just might run out of gas, just like you said they did, then they shouldn't have been put in that position. Coaching-wise, that should have been a coaching decision where they're like, we can't trust that this is going to go our way. And they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have trusted that it was going to go their way.
I trust the percentage of the defense getting a stop there with 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning feels higher to me than the percentage of converting that 4th and 7. And I think that's where neither were guaranteed by any means, but I think if I was just guessing the odds, I think the odds of punting and getting the ball back would have been higher than just converting that 4th and 7.
I mean, those odds might be higher, but that doesn't put our odds of winning the game any better. Just because the defense was more successful doesn't mean the offense was going to score anyways. It's just we hadn't scored in 17 minutes of game time. At what point are we going to be okay, the offense has to pick up their shit and go down to the touchdown, otherwise we lose. We can put the defense out there 20 times, it doesn't matter unless we get a freak turnover, which everybody's going to be high alert on ball security. We don't change that score. The score still stays the same, and we just run out the clock because defense, they only get 3 timeouts. They can't go out there 3 times in a row and get 3 and outs and still win the game. At some point, offense has to rise to the occasion. Coach said, teens don't win points. Teens don't win games. That's where we're at. Is we can't win with 18 points. We can't be the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. We can't be the Orange Crush. We can't just rely on our defense doing as much as they can until they're absolutely dead, and then being offense, pretty please just do it once. And that was just to go to overtime. That wasn't even to win the game. We would have had to do a 6 and 2 just to get to overtime, which who knows if that works. It worked well in the first half, but we got lucky on that touchdown Cheeks got that went off of Wooten's hand and came down to him. That was sick. That should have been on SportsCenter for sure. But let's count our lucky stars that happening the correct way kept us in the game.
Yeah, it 100% did. And thank you for bringing that up. That was a great catch. Just like you said, the cool play should have been on SportsCenter. Also, the 2-point conversion was a tough catch by, I think Menegatti went up and got that one.
That might have been the most accurate pass I've seen Gibson throw probably ever. At least of straight line, short yardage passes, that might have been the most accurate, small window Aaron Rodgers pass I've ever seen him throw.
He put it right on the spot it needed to be. Menegatti just strong-armed it and brought it down. So pulled within 8. And at that time, I was like, Jacob, of course, the spread is 7.5. So why would there not be some 8-point, 2-point conversion bullshit? The odds makers know what they're doing. But I guess even though the offense didn't get in the end zone, the way they were able to move the ball through chunk plays, like getting I don't think the difference between having the ball with 3 minutes left and 2 minutes left, if the defense comes through, matters that much in the grand scheme. And plus, if they don't get that fourth down, it's just game over. Like, it's straight up, they're already in field goal range. They could stretch it to 11. It ended up being game over anyway, but I think extending the game there is the right call, and it didn't work out, but I'm not like upset at that decision.
I personally, I'm going to side with the crowd on this one. I'm still upset about it because I'm going to go just purely based off of like principle here. It wasn't fair to put the defense in that position. It wasn't fair to be like, bail us out one more time. Like, no, it was time for the offense to rise to the occasion. And I'm gonna stick on that one pretty hard. I think Coach was pretty honest throughout the whole broadcast for Pirate that coaching decisions were putting players in bad spots, and I think that was one of them. It's just like, sure, it might lose the game, but if you don't go for it now, you can't you can't use those timeouts for the offense. You have to use them all for the defense, and then offense is going to be sporadically going down the field. It's going to be a sporadic rush, with not as much care to try to get to the end zone, because like you have to just keep on moving at that point. It's the 2 minute drive, it's a 40-second drive, it's however much they get, like it just ticks away. And if they made that fourth down, they could have like tried to instill some confidence and move forward and use those timeouts for the offense. They could have burned it and just like put all the chips on the offense. But it seems like so far this season we haven't felt like the offense is worth putting the chips on.
Yeah, I would maybe disagree with that, because when the offense has had to come through, typically it has this year, like in those 2 minute drive situations, they drove down like 75 yards in 40 seconds for that no catch against CSU. South Dakota, same thing, got the ball back with, I think, about 2 minutes left, went length of the field, had first and goal with 40 seconds left. So I think, I guess I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, because I think maybe it's not fair to put it on the defense there. I think the defense has shown like we'd rather put it on you, at least right now, than the offense. But also, kind of comboed with that, I think the offense has shown enough, especially the way they had like 8 plays of 30 plus yards yesterday. I'm just guessing on that, but like every receiver had a long of like 30 yards. So I think like that comboed with the way they were moving the ball in chunks, I would have been fine. I'm fine with the way they handled it, but I do understand why. Especially, it almost feels like giving up a little bit punting back there, which it's 100%. It's not like just it didn't work, but it's not giving up, because you have four ways to stop the clock with like 2:50 left. So it just, from the fan perspective, though, it just feels like shit, I think, more than anything. And for a program that's felt like shit for 20 years, I think that stings a little bit harder than it would have if it was like South Dakota or something.
Right. And I'll give some other Achilles heels, because it's not fair to just say the game came down to one play, because it really didn't. The fourth down we went for in the beginning of the game, that was not a great choice. It led to 7 for them. The 4th and 7 where they could have punted, could not have punted. That's a choice. Another one is, I believe it was Price. He caught a ball around the 30 and it became a fourth down. I don't remember where that was in the drive. It was somewhere in the second half, but the ball spottage was terrible. Like it would have been either a first down or inches short, and he got marked 2 yards below that. It was like, what the hell was that? So that was awful. Officiating, I'm not going to say it was bad, because we can't say that every week, but like, those guys got to be at least a little bit more confident. Like the white hat, he needs to get his hat taken away. Like, take away, give it to one of the other guys if he's like not comfortable on the mic or not comfortable making decisions. Because like throughout the whole season, he was like, or the whole game, he was just sounded so nervous, and he was like, I think, and I was like, dude, can't, like leadership position, you can't, like, give it to the and something. Like the whole fact that they got the hashes wrong on the 2-point try, that like Lamb just about got a penalty. Like old boy field judge was like had his hand uh on his flag like he was a policeman or something, just ready to pull it. And I was like, no, you guys messed up. Coach told you left. You ended up on the right. Yeah, I can't do that. But some other ones that just really hurt us. We had 0 rushing first downs, Chris. 0.
That's worse than I
We
thought
had
it was.
we had 16 total first downs. 1 was by penalty. 15 were through the air. Gibson did a great job today. Like you said, Brooke looked it up, and it was the 9th best single game performance from a UNC quarterback in the D1 era. So he absolutely balled out. He did as much as he could through the air. Of course, we would have liked some more third downs to convert. It was better than last week for sure, but 5 of 14, not great. Need to get better at that. And 0 for 2 on fourth downs. Of course, like we tried our best on them, but let's do some different plays. I know Hank was out, but we still had Keone. I know Keone's not a bulldozer. I know he's not anything like that, but put the biggest guys, even if it's out of position and you have somebody else snapping. Put the biggest, fattest lineman we have as the center and guards right there, and let Keone just hide. Just let him hide behind the fat rolls, baby. Like he's small enough. He like that's kind of his crutch and his amenity is that he's small enough he can just kind of wiggle in there and not be seen and not get mollywopped unless the gaps break through. But it's like hiding Keone would have been better than some double delay run play.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that play call, and I'm starting to sour on the Keone sets as a whole. They worked well, and they were like when they were able to punch him in, I was like, this is cool. He's earned this. Give him like a carve out a role for him. Now that they're not working, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we should let our quarterback who has 400 yards passing kind of handle this and put it in his hands. But
here's the solution. Of course, you got to do some practice for it. What if we just have Matthias Price just direct snap it, just under center, just direct snap it?
I'll do you one better. What about Zion Savio if he's not playing right tackle? Or what about his brother, whose name also starts with a Z? But put the biggest guy we have just under center and just have 2 other backup linemen or 3 other flanking him at like on each side and behind him. And but I'm joking, but I get what you're saying. Like,
I mean, as long as he holds on to it till like it's a sandwich and he hasn't eaten for a week, as long as he holds on to it like that, I'm good with it.
But let's I wanted to touch on that Willig field goal that wasn't a field goal. Just because you kind of mentioned, I think the Jungle Land guys said it was good. I'll admit, from the press box, you can't see shit when it comes to field goals and like the angles. So wide right, but his reaction was something I have not seen from a kicker on a field goal. Like he was incensed. He was livid. Like he's like, "What do you mean it didn't go in?" No, like normally when kickers miss, they're like, "Ah, shit, I missed it." And he was like, I think you said you were like, "Ah, shit, I made it. Why didn't you give it to me?" But that was I still haven't seen a good angle of that, to be honest. I'm just talking out my ass here. But I thought his reaction was the funniest thing of all.
Yeah, that's one of those we'll have to go back on the ESPN Plus demand and be like, oh, yep, that looked awful, like or not. Because I don't know, from the crowd we were like, yeah, and I was like, it's not. Oh, okay. Like I said, like we've switched from curse of the long grass to curse of the dwarf field goal poles. I don't know. Elevation just shoots that ball right up there, and it's like just killing us.
But I think I said this to you several times yesterday, and actually kind of Lamb said something in the post-game press conference that was basically that he echoed my thoughts, and Gibson honestly kind of said something just passing him as we were waiting to mooch off of the volleyball donors Qdoba spread before their game last night. So shout out volleyball boosters club. You've come through pretty clutch here for us this year, but there's like there were a couple plays where it feels like if it goes different, this whole game is different. If they convert that fourth down in the first quarter, if it felt like a pretty obvious pass interference on Charlie Garrison on that drive that led to that punt that we were debating. If that could change things big. It feels like there's a 500-piece puzzle and we're missing 1 to 2, you know? And the way Lamb said, like, he basically said, like, we're moving the ball. We just can't quite figure it out. And we don't know, like, what that little ingredient is. And it's 100% true. It's frustrating because there's nothing to point to, really. Like, if the offensive line was better and they could run for even a guaranteed 2 yards when they need it, I think it would be a whole different scenario. But it my ultimate takeaway is that it feels good to be close, even though that's such a loser mentality. But like, it felt like a Big Sky game. It didn't feel like we were playing a Big Sky opponent and gonna lose inevitably.
Excuse
Like,
me.
oh yeah, sorry. Well, go to you,
Me and
Ben.
Mama Schleiger conversation is like we were talking about the game afterwards, and I was like, yeah, it still sucks that we lost, but like the crowd was good. It was 14 short of 5,400 for reference, according to ESPN at least. So we were like, yeah, like it doesn't feel good to lose, but it feels like we're a football team. It feels like we just saw a Big Sky game. It doesn't feel like we saw the chaos of the 2 years before and the dysfunctionality of like kind of a football team, but not really under McCaffrey, where like we won because we have athletes, not really because we played a football game. So it felt like the first time that we had legit football at Nottingham in a long time. Outside of Shattered. Shattered was good, but like conference wise, this felt like a first competent game in a long, long time in conference.
Yeah, because the other game I was going to point to would have been the Abilene game last year, but 100% like in conference, even the Weber State game felt a little fluky in the way that CSU game felt fluky, and I don't want to call it a fluke, especially the CSU game, but it
That
felt
was a
like,
perfect storm. We were not allowed to survive.
but the Weber game felt kind of like that, and probably didn't really deserve to win it, but we like forced 5 turnovers. So we did deserve to win because we forced 5 turnovers, but you can't count on that. So, but you're right. And we talked last week where Houston Christian could have been like a gateway game into like off and running for the season. But it also felt like this Idaho State game could have been like if we win, then we've established ourselves as at least a legitimate team. Maybe we're not one of the top dogs, but we're like somebody you have to look out for. And I don't think we disproved that against Idaho State, but it did feel like it killed a bit of the momentum that we had built, that this team had built. I haven't done shit. Kind of moving into the conference slate, and it's still 7 conference games left. UNC could go 7-1. I'm not saying they will, but I think just stings a little bit going into this bye with a loss instead of a win, even if it is like ultimately not a demoralizing loss that we took.
No, I think you're right there. Just it sucks. It's homecoming was slated very well. It was the best opponent that they could have chosen that was early in the year, and I think we did the most that we could with it.
Yeah, 100%. And I was trying to find that just short of 5,400 this year, or this game, was about 1,000 more than the highest drawing game UNC had last year. I don't actually. I thought I had it written down 2023, but I don't. I don't, and that's too much legwork to do on the fly. But a couple other things that I want to say because I did the work to figure them out. They're not that relevant, but in Ed Lamb's tenure at UNC, he is now 15-13 against the spread, at least according to some of those historic lines. I had to go off of the FCS FanDuel Reddit, or the FCS Reddit spreads, because the legit books don't, like, I couldn't find historic lines, but they're always within like 1 or 2 points typically of the actual Vegas guys. So UNC, yeah, they're 4-1 now. Failed to cover against Idaho State. Went 5-7 last year, with basically all 7 of those were those blowouts at the end of the year. And then was 6-5 in his first year, with a couple really tough games against like high quality programs. But he's just 2-4 in games with a spread under 10. So granted, most of UNC's games have been them like a 2-5 touchdown underdog. But in the games where UNC's at least not favored, but at least supposed to be competitive, 2-4, and it was 0-2 heading into this year. But Shadron and Houston Christian were the two wins, because they had Shadron technically as UNC -6.5. But don't know what any of that means. Don't know if it means a single goddamn thing, but I thought his record would be a little better against the spread. That's why I took the time to do that yesterday. But here we are, 15-13. So do with that what you will.
There we go. I mean, like, that makes it feel better. It's like, yeah, it's not 3 and 20. Was it 3-23?
His overall record, I think,
Yeah.
3-24.
Yeah, well,
5-25 now.
Better.
I think, because I think it was
better than that.
Yeah, 100%. You would have made money blindly betting the spread on this UNC team in the Ed Lamb era. Granted, you would have made like 1/2 of a unit by the time the sportsbook took their cut, but better than nothing. And then one little last thing, or anything, I guess I should ask, anything else in that game that we didn't touch on? I think we fleshed it out pretty well. Head into a bye, so time to hopefully get healthy. We didn't really talk about too many of the injuries, but I think Braden Monroe has been very, very direly missed. And I think there'll be a lot more receivers running open when he's back, primarily him.
I think this was the first week that we didn't miss him necessarily. I'm not saying that we couldn't have used him, because that would have been great, but I feel like this is the first week Meningati and Wooten stepped up at the same time, rather than like one stepped up or the other one stepped up.
That's a good point. Meningati looked like, I was like, oh, that's why he was at 2 FBS schools before he got here. You know, like he had a couple, that catch in the end zone on the 2-pointer. Then there was one across the middle that was like a post or some sort of deep in that he caught in traffic and like bounced off a couple tackles and almost broke one. But yeah, he played well. Charlie Garrison, incredible again. What did he have? He finished with, would have been 3 catches, 82 yards. Carver Cheek 7 for 93. Matthias Price, kind of filling Rocco's shoes out of the backfield, 6 for 74. So, and listen to this, Ben. Sorry to keep you from talking once again. Cheeks' long was 36. Garrison's long 36. Price's long 33. Menegati's long 24. Wooten's long 33. Brandon Johnson had a 24-yard catch. Brody Judd's long was 28. So just so many chunk plays through the air, and just like Gibson said, got to find a way into the red zone or into the end zone. It's as simple as that.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I guess we didn't really touch on individuals on the defense. I mean, it was really a community effort, but Cam Chappa, obviously he's our Lord and Savior on the defense. 11 tackles, 9 of them being solo, 1 forced fumble where he snuck up behind Cook and just punched it out. That was fantastic. Just absolutely the momentum
and
we needed to stay in the game.
Reached out and just grabbed it and scooped it in, like forced it in, recovered it.
And then KJ Smedley, he had some pretty sick hits. LaDavian Osborne, I think we agreed on, was the hit of the game, where he just down checked a guy, like he went straight from up to down. So that was pretty sick, especially since that was a big boy. That dude was 240, so that was pretty sick that he put him on his ass. Ezra Akubon, he was trying his best to get to the backfield. Didn't have a great day, but he still got 1.5 tackles for a loss. And man, was he excited whenever he got those. I would say kind of like an unsung hero you're not going to hear about. Well, I'll say 2 actually. Dom Butts, I feel like he still made a big difference. He got a pass breakup. He just smacked it down at line. That was sick. He also he was the other half of Ezra's tackle for a loss. So Not a lot of tackles. I mean, we do have full line substitutions, so that does do quite a bit in there. But I want to talk about Carson Keach for a second here. He has some stats that did not make the board on here. He had at least 2 pass breakups, and sure, it might have been fingertips, but Carson is also the reason that somebody got an interception. I think it was during the South Dakota game. Carson, he's doing a great job at linebacker. He's not getting a lot of stats for it, not getting a lot of love. Of course, 4 stats is good enough to be fourth on the list this week because it was such a community effort. But Carson should have 2 pass breakups in there. I'm sure Chris will reach out to Brooke and get that on the books stat. But Carson has been great at pass coverage where I don't think a lot of us expected the linebackers to be helpful with that. I know KJ Smedley, he's got that hybrid frame where he can kind of tag in with that. But Carson, a little bit more of a traditional linebacker, and he still runs his ass off, even if he's going like 102%. He's running his ass off, and he's getting just a little fingertip on there, or he's tackling the receiver out of bounds if it's like a contested catch. Like, he's doing a great job, and I think that's one of those kind of like unsung heroes that we haven't gotten enough love to.
Yeah, fun fact about Carson Keach, number 20, I learned yesterday because I like wrote out the like top 20 leading tacklers on this UNC defense so I could like point to them and like spot a little easier from the box. And Carson Keach was not on that list. And then I think he had the first 2 tackles of the game. So I was like, sick. Great work by me here. But good shout out there. I thank you for bringing up the defense because I mentioned this yesterday when we were at our friends over at Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue. I was taking full advantage of that self-serve beer wall. But Ben, what did you have? You had the barbecue slider, or what was it? The barbecue brisket sandwich, and then some fried pickles.
Yeah, a little brisket sandwich, and we shared some fries and fried pickles and whatnot. So yeah, it was a good little sandwich. Had a nice Kansas City barbecue sauce on it. Didn't even realize there was a little bit of pickles, kind of like snuck into the meat. So I was like, "Ooh, what's the crunch?" And I looked down, I was like, "Ooh, pickles!" Like, kind of gives it a nice like a vinegary taste without it being overpowering. So it was very nice. So yeah, shout out to our friends over at Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue. We had a good meal last time after the game, and Bears might be on the road for a little bit, but there's no reason you can't stop in and beat the craving.
Yeah, there's no better place to watch a UNC game. Lots of TVs up there, Ben. Lots of TVs, great vibes all around. Really good service. That type of place. It's like we have your number, and maybe your thing vibrates, and like you come pick up your food, and then you set your dirty tray like by the trash can. But no, they have like people coming around. They'll bring everything to you. If you ask for anything, they'll grab it. They come bust your table. Great experience all around. Like, literally cannot recommend them enough. Go give Heath. I about said Hod and Teeth. Go give Todd and Heath some love over there and get some good food at some good prices.
Yeah, it's the closest you can get to like small hometown feel of like a diner without it being an actual like established Greeley's favorite type diner.
But last thing on UNC, I don't like it. It's hard to quantify some of this because I look at the stat sheet and I'm like, 4 tackles. What am like sick? What do I do with that information? And Cam Chappa, like, 12 tackles, but that means the running back made it to the secondary like a good chunk of times, which I think is what I thought a lot last year. And I wasn't surprised to see him get like the FCS like the freshman All-American, but I was kind of like, how do they decide that? And I think it's like I knew he was good. I think it's really clicking for me now, Ben. Like the way he just somehow is always around the ball. He has 5 interceptions on his career, I think, maybe 6. He's top 5 in school history. Has played not even 1.5 seasons. So, and I think there were probably 5 or 6 tackles yesterday that if he doesn't make the tackle, it's at least extra 20 yards. And I don't think he's missed one of those all season. And just the way that strip that you mentioned, he's just aggressive. He's in the backfield a lot somehow. Like, I don't quite understand how he's the last line of defense, but also fairly consistently hitting people in the backfield. So I really hope that he's one of those guys that are like, I am here to make UNC something. And because I don't want to see him go, but the more I watch him play, the more I think he could be in the Power Five next year. So I just wanted to give a big shout out Cam Chappa. He's not short on big shout outs, I don't think, but he deserves them all.
Yeah, Chappa is definitely our savior on the defense. And who would have thought, with all of the bitching, especially that I did, but the bitching that happened this past off season and all of the well, man, does this guy even deserve a spot? Is this guy gonna matter? Is he even gonna, we see spring and he's not even in the starting lineup. I was like, Jesus, like, what are we doing here? And come to find out, Carver Cheeks might be the hardest working, biggest producing receiver that we have so far. He is putting his body on the line for catches, going up, just making basketball type like plays, even though he's not like basketball size. Like, he's getting after it, and
It is
being
crazy.
our
He's
big
probably smaller than Quinn Danker. Like, it really feels weird when you look at football players next to basketball players, because he feels like a monster and Quinn feels kind of small. But I would not be surprised if Quinn Danker was 2 to 3 inches taller than Carver Cheeks.
Yeah, so who would have thought that the guy we're bitching about this offseason is coming out here being the most athletic, most productive, and most helpful receiver so far?
It's been fantastic. I think this one also sucks because shout out Bates, friend of the program. I don't think he said this on camera, or I wouldn't repeat it. But I told him, like, it's cool. Like, he came back as like a walk on, gave up the scholarship, but like he hit the portal in return, and he was like, oh, so he's gone next year. And like, there's a chance where if he didn't shine, maybe he stuck around. But yeah, he's gone. He's an FBS guy, and he's earned it. I don't even want to say I think he's earned it. I'll be sad to see him go, especially with the fact that just kind of chucking it up to him has been our best offense in the last half decade. But can't fault him for. I guess you can fault him. He's done great. He's done everything I had hoped and more. So shout out Carver Cheeks. It was funny. I was telling Jacob, like, I thought I was the highest on Carver Cheeks of all the, like, of like the 10 UNC people that I talked to. Jacob is like, I may be passing him now, but like coming into the year, Jacob, like, he didn't predict this, but this is how he talked about him. Like, this was obviously what was going to happen. And so shout out Carver Cheeks. Also, just an A1 name that I've been saying for too many years. I don't appreciate it, but Marcy always gets a kick out of it every time she hears me talk about him. So shout out to you, Carver.
Yeah, if Brooke ever wants to go viral, she just has to have Dom and Carver stand next to each other.
I wish we should have got it last year, and we could have had 2 cheeks on either side of butts, but maybe the vibes weren't right last year for. That's true. The S on his name kind of puts a damper in this. If his last name was Butt, like, it wasn't Jake Butt, the tight end from Michigan. If he didn't have, I think Broncos drafted him actually. If he didn't have the S, the possibilities would be much more endless. But let's move on. Since we have a bye week, we ended up going 50 minutes on that game, so it's not like we're going to be any shorter anyway. But as an Arkansas/UNC fan, it has been a rough existence generally. So I posed this question to Ben yesterday. What is like the most tortured FBS FCS combo of fan? Because I will say Arkansas has not been the worst, but have you seen that meme I'm sure Arkansas is not the only one that uses it, but it's like we almost always almost win. And that feels like Arkansas just feels like they're one play, similar to UNC, one play away, except Arkansas is like good enough they should win some of these games, where UNC, it still feels like sick they were in that game. And it just, man, I love Sam Pittman. He's going to be, if he's not fired, I haven't looked this morning. If he's not fired, he will be soon. I was telling Bates, like, I'm sad because I really love that clip of him saying, and I'm not promoting it, but I do love me some old cold beer.
What's the drink of choice tonight?
Well, I'm not promoting it, but I like some old cold beer. I think I'm going to have one. I'm not promoting it now.
And it makes me smile every time. It brings a smile to my face. That and his fucking enormous naturals that he's got just contained inside that Arkansas polo. But those two like viral photos are the most relevant Arkansas's football team has been in a decade and a half. So I think that's where I settle on. Maybe Pittman's not the guy here, as much as I enjoy him and his hog fountain. But long rambly intro into any other combos that you can think of, Ben? Did you Google the photo of him with Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is that what you're chuckling about?
No, I'm gonna leave that one to your imagination and possibly your bedroom wall. But yeah, ultimately, I did do some research, and I think I have some pretty great picks here. So if you want to
Okay.
go first, I have some stats. So I'll let you choose, and I'll choose statistically the best second choice.
Okay, so we had talked about like maybe just drafting one of each, but you seem way more prepared for this than I am. So I'm gonna pitch. How about I toss out a combo for you, and you tell me if it's like anywhere near what you were thinking.
There's not like clear stats on like FCS only stats, but there is FCS programs as a whole. We are not the worst. We are as like including the whole history of the programs. So that's D1, D3. It's a lot of different football stats. We are only 94th out of 129. So it's not the worst, but it's definitely not good. So we're not the bottom as far as like FCS only stats go. We're probably top
Pretty
5
close.
worst. But we didn't have time to compile those stats. I think we have something like a 13% winning percentage during the FCS, but that's okay. But there is stats on who is like unequivocally the worst FBS program. At least that's still FBS. Idaho might have been flirting with it, but there is one ultimate worst for the FBS.
I in my head, this almost has to be a Power 5 team in the FBS. For like it doesn't, but for purpose of the exercise, like I think it's worse to be a fan of like Mississippi State or Rutgers than like UL Monroe or some. I don't know the bottom feeder like Sunbelt CUSA teams, but I think it would be worse to be like a bad Power 5 school with no hope. Maybe not, but that's the way I picture UNC's a bad Power 5 school if you look at it just in the FBS landscape. I have 2 FBS teams that are in my head and then 1 FCS team. So the 2 FBS teams that feel that way are Mississippi State, who are just in a rough spot. This year playing well, but besides some like random blips, their upward blips feel like 8-4, like the Mike Leach era type 8-4. Maybe that's where they'll end up around the next couple years. And Rutgers, because Rutgers they've had since the beginning of football to figure it out, and they haven't. They played in the first ever college football game, and they still can't win more than 6 games a season. And that one's they're probably a little bit like they probably won't fit into your criteria because they haven't probably just been the worst, but those ones feel like 2 of the like kick you in the balls in the way Arkansas does type. And then my FCS school is Indiana State. I don't think the Sycamores have done a whole hell of a lot in their football history.
Okay. Yeah, those are some decent ones. Yeah, I don't quite agree with the whole like Power 5 argument because like I feel like if you're gonna be FBS at all, you may as well be good. So at least then like you're making money and you have like merchant stores and stuff. But I understand like if you have no chance of winning the SEC championship or like it's gonna require like all of your donors coming together and having like a CU like effort to try to get there. But yeah, Mississippi State is actually the only the 29th worst team ever according to stats. 10th was their best performance ever in 2014, but 104th last year in 2024 was their worst performance ever.
And it somehow felt worse as a 2-10, 0-8 SEC team.
And Rutgers, oddly enough, also their best year was 2014 at 36. They stand with a total ranking of 87th, and their worst ranking ever was 115th in 2018. So definitely rough to be a Rutgers fan for sure. I think that was probably the best Power 5 choice you could have made. Maybe Maryland was worse, but like I don't think so.
What about
Indiana
Northwestern?
State.
I don't know if you have everything in front of you. Northwestern also feels like one of those that fits my
I can pull up
criteria.
Northwestern. Indiana State, as far as like whole, like, of course, asterisk, this is like entire program stats ever. So we get like definitely a boost with like the 90s, 80s, and 90s from UNC being good. But whole program efforts, Indiana State is the 12th worst of current FCS schools. They have a winning percentage of just 41.7%.
That feels high, too. Like is that crazy? That feels higher than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, they are 403 and 568 with 23 ties.
That feels. Looking at the raw numbers, it feels more right.
FCS time, I'm sure it's worse. Going back to Northwestern, because I'm curious, like who's the worst Power 5? Northwestern, 9th was their best in 2020. Their worst was 116th in 2022. They sit at 50 all
2
time.
years. I think that was when, what was their coach, Fitz, had been there for a bunch of years, got fired because of a hazing scandal. So I think that, but crazy to see the best and worst 2 years apart.
Yeah, Maryland sits about the same, 55 overall. Their best ranking was 30th in 2022. Worst was 95th in 2019. So I went a little different route. I went for who's just the worst. Like who is it just absolutely suck to cheer for. And these ones are going to be pretty familiar to FCS folks. UMass is unequivocally the worst team to cheer for in the FBS landscape. Their highest ranking ever was 111th in 2017, and they were last at 131 multiple times. Now there's 134, so they have a new low that they can sink to.
They surely will. Give it a couple years. They're moving to the MAC. They'll get beat up on by the I was going to say the Northern Illinois, but they won't.
That's it. And then the second worst statistical team to cheer for in the FBS is Charlotte. They are 130th. Their best ever was 87th in 2019, and their worst was 129th in 2017. So very different years there for them. I would say like I was going to say Akron. Akron's probably 5th on this list, behind Louisiana Monroe and New Mexico. No, not New Mexico State. UTEP. New Mexico State is 7th, and there might be a tie for 4th. So maybe splitting hairs, but probably like Texas State and FIU are leading towards the bottom. Who would I choose out of that personally? I would say UMass unequivocally. Like they just are the worst of the FBS. Like if you're gonna play with a custom team on the video game, you're gonna play with a custom team, and you're gonna start your year with UMass. And if you want a ranked Division One win,
if you don't want to schedule FCS Midwest and would rather play a team with branding, yeah,
pretty much. I would say the other one that's probably awful, because like Texas is so diverse, you can have so many different versions of what Texas football is. So I won't say Texas State, but I'd say it's a tie between UL Monroe and Akron. There's just so many more high-profile options in the state that you're just never going to beat, except for once in 100 years. So those are definitely my FBS contributions to the conversation. And I have to
shout out. Of course, shout out me for just randomly pulling ULM. I having no knowledge of the program, they just seemed like a team that has been bad for a while. So I just want to pat myself on the back, because I don't do that enough, surely.
My contributions for worst FCS school, even though these are whole program records, so big asterisk on there. just got to say Houston Christian right off the bat. Just when they were Houston Baptist, I think it was pretty much just like, yep, you secured a win. Good for you. Their win percentage all time is 21.2. So they have won 22 games and lost 82 in their short program history. My other contribution to that, I don't know, I would say Mississippi Valley State, just because like so many SEC schools like tee them up on their schedule, and it's like, really? Like, do you really have to go play them just because Jerry Rice played there once and you have to forever punish them by 70 to 100 points?
Okay, so some of those are kind of what I expected. A couple surprises in there, but I would be interested to see just FCS only stats for UNC, because I bet it has not been pretty, actually. A lot of
We're bottom
3 and
five for
9s,
sure.
a lot of 3 and 9 or 3 and 8s, I guess, and 2 and 9s and all those. So that was what's your combo if you had to pick like an FBS and FCS?
Worst combo out of all those, I would say Akron and Mississippi Valley State. Akron and Houston Baptist, because Akron, like, there's just so many better options, and like there's not even like that much merch for them. Like, just
Within a
it's just a
drive. So many
sad
options within
sad
a drive.
existence unless you like really like the school. And then Houston Baptist, like, you got a freaking Walgreens, you got a CVS in your back behind your players bench. Like, that's just sad, man. Like, that's like you couldn't afford to like buy up that other land, and like that CVS is just profitable enough to be like, nah, screw the school. We're not going to sell to them. We're not going to take a $1.2 million check to like sell this land to them. No, we're going to have our drive-through go right behind the visiting bench, like give them some diesel fumes while they're trying to play a football game.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because that's 1000% what happened. It's a big giant rectangular lot except for that one little cutout corner of that Walgreens. That's a good point. Nottingham is way better than Husky Stadium in Houston. No opposing bleachers even on that. As you saw, I'm sure, on the ESPN Plus stream. The home bleachers are a little taller than Nottingham, so there's like more seats just in that one side. But on the downside, a pain in my ass to run down out of the press box to do like sideline stuff for Lamb. But yeah, I think Houston Christian's a good one. Their SID as we were leaving, Jacob was like, somebody had to lose or somebody had to win, and it usually ain't us. And the SID was like, yeah, I think there's probably a reason we've scheduled each other so many times over the past handful of years. Pretty like programs, and 100% like we can't judge because we're right there too. But it was Houston Christian. It's cool because if you go like a block to the whatever direction, let's say north, their campus is gorgeous, but the football field looks like it's out of like a D2 or a JUCO. It doesn't quite fit. So like I don't want to.
It looks like a novelty among the rest of the city.
Yeah, literally. Plus, Houston, it's probably like the 50th biggest football field in the Houston city limits. After like Houston, Rice, and then 48 high school fields. But I think that's all I have. That's more than all I had, honestly. So as always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your wife to like, comment, subscribe, review. And if not, Ben's DMs are always open. The complaint department right there at Bear Claw Media on Twitter. His typing thumbs are ready to go. So have a good one.